All right, so we're gonna attempt to fit this 37 gear onto the drive shaft, final drive gear. I've had it in the oven at 400 and something degrees for about 20 minutes or so, and I've had this in the freezer for a couple hours. I'll try to work sort of quick. Boom, they fit together perfect. Pretty sure that's as far as they're supposed to go on. Ooh, that's hot. It's completely on. It would not fit before they were binding, so put this in the freezer for about 2 hours, and this in the oven, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. It's on there now. It's awesome. So if you buy one of these gear up kits and it doesn't want to slide right on, that's what you need to do, is heat this up in the oven. Don't use a torch, because you can make this fragile, or can make it, weaken the metal, but you won't hurt it by putting it in the oven and putting this in the freezer. And that definitely worked. All right, so you saw us over in the kitchen fitting the two pieces of gear, the final drive shaft and the 37 gear together. Now we're going to install the gears in the case. So this one is going to go in this bottom. Like that. This one. In just like that. All right, now that we've got that put back together, we're going to put our 21 millimeter axle nut on the back side to hold the hub and keep that gear in place. So that's going to go on the back side on that shaft that we just installed. Go ahead and get it finger tight. Spin this around. Well, can't really spin it around the way I've got stuff set up, but got that on there. That's good to go. So now we've got our two gears in there. We did a 14 and a 37. Now we can put our cover back on. And these were the old gears that came out. This was the stock 40 and the stock 13. So this was a 13 tooth and this was a 40 tooth. The way that they went together before was like that. And now we've replaced them and done the 14 and the 37. So let me make sure I said that right. This is a 13 tooth and this is a 40, so we had a 1340 going here, Now we have a 14 and a 37. Take our rag, make sure we've got our surfaces cleaned up really good. Wipe out this old oil. It was definitely time for an oil change. I think the recommendation is 500 miles the first time for a new engine, and then 1,000 miles after that. Every 1,000 miles you should be replacing that oil. Sure, it wouldn't hurt to stay on that 500 if you have the time and the means. Looks good. Put these two halves back together. So this has to line up and go into that bearing in the back. And these gears, this gear and this gear, will interact. So you have to make them fit. Just take your time. Should slide together like that with little to no effort. And you can test it. You can see that everything's moving. All right. So put our bolts back in. So obviously not shown at the beginning of this video was the removal of this side case for getting into the gearbox. The removal process is the same as the reassemble. Just remove all those bolts and then this side will pop right off. All right, that's what it takes. Now I'm going to go back and tighten them all up. All right, so now that we've got everything hand tight, go back and snug it up real good. It's an aluminum block, so you don't want to over tighten any of these. All right, so make sure your 10mm drain screw is back in and tight. And then this is your fill screw. So go ahead and tighten that up. Should be good. Now we're going to use our fill screw and fill the oil. This was putting the gear up kit, doing a 1437 gear change for the final gear in a Honda Ruckus. You can go back and clean up all this stuff and get all this gunk out of here. I'll go back with the air compressor and some brake cleaner, get it all cleaned up nice and good before we reassemble. But that's it. Don't forget to put your gear oil back in there. I think I've got some sitting over here. Yep. So this is what I use for gear oil in my case. Lucas high performance 80-90 gear oil. Stuff works great.